Way back
They
in
should have just canceled
2019, it was and there were more than a few outlets and
I don't know why Netflix would have even continued with it, because like it's only going to damage their brand and make them look bad. Like you probably should be paying money to not have it shown.
saying that possible, actually releasing the show. And let's just
I don't know why they released it. They should have just canceled it. That's fine. But what I'm saying is that a lot of people obviously don't like this type of content.
I'm the most annoying guy on set because I'm saying, excuse me, you do realize that this should be happening and they wouldn't do that, and you haven't read this, that means this would be impossible. And everyone's just going, Henry, just shut up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the thing because he wouldn't do it this way, and he can do it.
Now I have to
I think that's just so unfair to the guy. Are we really gonna blame everything and scapegoat this guy? Well, think about it. If the show was so great, why did the first guy leave? It's so unfair.
Oh, I can make whatever I want. I've got him on a farm milking people. I'm gonna send him to the ladies with the red bonnets on. Because everyone can have their version. Everyone shouldn't. Everyone doesn't matter enough to have their version. What matters is the millions upon millions of people which have bought the games, and they deserve to be represented. Lauren doesn't. Lauren's irrelevant. I'm not sure why Lauren's the showrunner. She already scared off the best asset that the series has. Getting rid of Henry Cavill and keeping Lauren would be like losing a Wagyu steak and having it replaced with a carrot. I mean, sure, both
agree with the responsibility of that lays at the feet of one woman, the aforementioned Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, who has finally gotten everything she wanted, complete control of an epic fantasy series on Netflix without the shackles of Henry Cavill. And how did it turn out? Well, about as bad as you would expect. It's time to talk about
promote this thing until a month before it came out. They knew that switching from like Henry Cavill to Liam Hemsworth, as downhill as the franchise has gone, everybody knew that even they knew it'd be shit. Were we expecting this? Witcher Season 4 is sitting at 17% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
The moment The Witcher's 4th season dropped, something strange happened. Instead of excitement, the fandom felt an instant shift, almost like the heart of the series had vanished overnight. People weren't just saying they missed Cavill, they were claiming he was the show, and without him, everything felt off. The title of this video comes straight from what fans have been repeating nonstop. Henry Cavill was The Witcher, and whether you agree or not, the reaction wasn't random. It came from years of tension, rumors, and warnings that many didn't take seriously until it was too late. What happened with Season 4 wasn't just backlash, it was the moment fans decided they simply couldn't continue.
Apparently, The Witcher 4 is, well, you know, so bad it got cooked. It did. It got completely cooked. It's totally dead.
Ciri, are you here?
The Witcher showrunner also addressed the backlash to the show. No one's taking the books away. No one's taking the video games away. Everyone can have their version of The Witcher. Unfortunately for you, Lauren, it turns out no one wanted your version.
For all the positive reviews, well, you've got IGN, that's never a good sign, and as Critical Drinker says, they can't exactly be trusted when The Penguin got a 5, The Witcher got a 7, and The Marvels got an 8. It basically looks like their score goes up the more girl power a series has.
Ciri.
Although they did give Willow a 9, so there are times when they absolutely knock it out of the park.
And the reasons behind that are far deeper than most people realize. Within hours of Season 4 going live, the reaction online felt like watching a dam crack. Posts flooded in from every platform. This doesn't feel like The Witcher anymore. Why does Geralt feel so different? And the one you've probably seen everywhere. Henry Cavill was The Witcher. Viewers complained that something in the show's soul had changed. Not just the lead actor, but the entire energy and rhythm of the series. Even people who tried to give the new season a fair chance found themselves drifting out of the story, noticing tiny details that didn't sit right. The pacing felt looser, the tone felt lighter. Even the dialogue seemed to lose the edge that defined Cavill's version of Geralt. Audience scores dropped hard, much faster than expected. But what really made the reaction explode wasn't the reviews, it was the recast itself.
The Witcher was supposed to be 7 seasons, but it was abruptly cut down to 5 after Henry Cavill left, and Lauren Hissrich is lucky she got that. But she does say, are there more stories? Maybe. Well, actually, there's a lot because you skipped them, but this one has to end at this point. So I think it's a nice time for all of us to step back a little bit. And that probably has a lot to do with the audience stepping back a long time ago.
I think the strangest of the positives is CBR, though. Liam Hemsworth Geralt silences the haters. What, you mean like the critics? Do you mean the professional top critics? They've been silenced, yes. Probably because they left and didn't finish the series. They're not watching any more of this tripe. That's why they don't need to talk about it anymore. This season of The Witcher is make or break for...
And the way fans felt the character they knew had been replaced by a hollow reflection. And as harsh as that sounds, this wasn't just about performance. Fans believed something bigger was going on behind the scenes, and that's where things really start unraveling. At first, people tried to be optimistic. Liam Hemsworth didn't walk into this job expecting to be hated, and the reaction wasn't pure hostility, it was disappointment. The comparison between Cavill and Hemsworth became unavoidable. Every clip, every line delivery, every fight scene was placed side by side with Cavill's version, and the contrast hit people harder than expected. Geralt no longer felt like the same person. He felt like someone trying to be him. Fans weren't attacking Hemsworth's talent. They were pointing out that Cavill had built a version of the character so iconic, so distinct, that replacing him felt almost impossible. Hashtag #NotMyGeralt exploded, not because Hemsworth was terrible, but because Cavill had set a standard viewers couldn't detach from. And that's why the phrase, Henry Cavill was the Witcher, grew even louder. But beneath the memes and outrage, there was a much more uncomfortable conversation happening because many fans believed Cavill didn't leave peacefully. They believed he saw this decline coming long before anyone else did. As backlash towards Season 4 intensified, something interesting began happening across the fandom. People weren't just talking about the new episodes, they were digging into the past. Old interviews, forgotten panel clips, podcast segments, and behind-the-scenes footage resurfaced everywhere. It felt like the entire internet suddenly decided to investigate Henry Cavill's exit all over again. And what they found, or thought they found, completely changed the tone of the conversation. Clips of Cavill politely reminding interviewers that the Witcher books were rich, layered, and worth respecting started circulating with millions of views. In one viral clip, he emphasizes how important it is to honor the original story. Fans had heard these lines before, but now they felt like warnings. Quiet, subtle warnings that no one paid attention to when it mattered. People started pointing out how his body language shifted whenever the topic of the show's writing came up. He always stayed professional, always smiled, always kept things respectful. But now viewers were reinterpreting those small pauses, those careful answers, those moments of restraint. And that's when a mysterious quote started trending. Stories lose their soul when the people telling them stop believing in what made them special. No one could confirm whether Cavill ever said that. It appeared on fan pages and rumor accounts, and no verified source connected directly to him. But it didn't matter. The line captured exactly what fans were feeling. It became symbolic. And once the fandom latched onto that symbolism, the narrative became bigger than facts. It became emotional. Multiple posts claimed that Cavill privately pushed for more accuracy to the books. Again, completely unverified, but fans believed it because it aligned with everything he had demonstrated publicly. You don't reread a fantasy series multiple times. Learn the lore down to the most obscure details. Train obsessively for stunts, and tailor your performance to match a character's personality if you don't care deeply. Cavill's passion wasn't a rumor. It was visible in every interview, every appearance, every scene he ever filmed. That passion is what fueled speculation. People began sharing claims from alleged insiders saying Cavill had disagreements with the direction of the show. Some said he tried to steer storylines closer to the books. Others said he became increasingly uncomfortable with changes that contradicted the spirit of the original work. None of this was confirmed by Cavill himself, but fans argued that Season 4's drastic tone shift validated those whispers.
Suddenly, the phrase Henry Cavill was the Witcher wasn't just people expressing love for his portrayal. It became a statement of belief. Fans viewed him as the last line of defense, the person who tried to keep the story grounded while the creative vision drifted into something unrecognizable. Threads on Reddit broke down every quote. TikTok slowed down interview clips frame by frame for hidden meaning. YouTube channels analyzed his departure like a true crime mystery. People weren't just nostalgic. They were connecting emotional dots that made painful sense. If Cavill left because he saw the story losing its identity, then Season 4 wasn't just disappointing. It was the confirmation of a warning he never fully voiced. And that belief, true or not, became the foundation for the storm that followed. Once the old interviews resurfaced, the internet didn't stop at nostalgia. They dug deeper. And that's when a wave of behind-the-scenes whispers started spreading like wildfire. For years, small hints of tension were brushed off as internet gossip. But after Season 4 landed with such a harsh thud, fans began connecting dots they had ignored before. Suddenly, those quiet rumors had a very different meaning. Some insiders, again, nothing officially confirmed, claimed Cavill became increasingly uncomfortable with the direction the show was taking. Not because he wanted control, but because he cared too much about the world the series was built on. The Witcher wasn't just a job for him. He talked openly about reading the books multiple times, diving into the lore, and respecting every detail that made Geralt who he was. According to the whispers, Cavill tried to keep the tone grounded, gritty, and faithful, while certain members of the writing team reportedly wanted to push the story into lighter, more modern territory. The rumored clash wasn't a dramatic shouting match. It was something quieter, a slow buildup of creative frustration. People online began sharing stories from anonymous crew members claiming Cavill would politely correct lore inconsistencies or ask for dialogue changes to match Geralt's personality. Some said he questioned decisions that made the characters feel unlike themselves. None of this was proven, of course, but the stories spread because fans already believed them. They'd seen his love for the source material. They'd seen the changes in Season 2 and Season 3. They'd noticed how the show drifted further from Sapkowski's original tone. One unverified story said Cavill approached the showrunner privately in hopes of preserving the heart of the narrative. Another claimed he felt the writers didn't take the book seriously, allegedly joking about source material in ways that bothered him. Whether these stories were exaggerated or completely fictional didn't matter. The fandom embraced them because they matched what they felt in their gut while watching Season 4. The world no longer had its original soul. This is when Cavill's image shifted into almost mythic territory. Fans began framing him as the protector of the continent, the only member of the production who truly understood the depth of the books. Memes appeared calling him Geralt's last defender or the guardian of the lore. Discussions turned from simple criticism to full-on investigative threads. Viewers examined interviews like detectives searching for clues, analyzing Cavill's facial expressions and tone whenever the show's creative direction came up. And once people believed Cavill had fought a losing battle to keep the show faithful, everything snapped into place. The disappointment in Season 4 wasn't random. It became the inevitable consequence of ignoring the one person who took the material seriously. That narrative, whether true or not, became the backbone of the backlash. Because if Cavill really walked away after trying to preserve the story, then his exit wasn't just sad, it was symbolic. It represented the exact moment The Witcher lost its identity. Once that idea cemented itself online, the fandom didn't just feel frustrated, they felt betrayed. And when betrayal hits a fan base as passionate as this one, the reaction becomes explosive. Within days, social media became a war zone. Hashtags like Justice for Henry and Fire Lauren surged across Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit. Fan edits portraying Henry Cavill as the true Geralt racked up millions of views. Memes comparing scenes from earlier seasons to Season 4 spread faster than Netflix could respond. Even critics who previously defended the show reversed their stance, calling Season 4 one of the most drastic quality drops of any major franchise. Liam Hemsworth, caught in the center of the storm, became a target of harsh criticism, even though most fans admitted none of this was his fault. Netflix staying silent only made things worse. People wanted answers. They wanted accountability. And instead, they got nothing. The silence became its own story. And then everything changed when a single late-night post appeared on Henry Cavill's social media. When the backlash towards Season 4 reached its peak, Nobody expected Henry Cavill to say anything. He had already left the series, moved on to new projects, and stayed completely silent throughout the chaos. That's why the moment he posted a short, quiet, almost poetic message on his social media, the internet exploded. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even directly related to The Witcher, but that was what made it so powerful.
The post read something along the lines of, "You can't claim to honor a story if you forget what gave it life." No tagging, no explanation, no reference to anything happening that week. It could have been about any project, any experience, any moment of reflection. But the timing, dropping right in the middle of the fandom's outrage, felt impossible to ignore. Within minutes, screenshots spread across Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok. People analyzed the wording like it was a coded message. Fans argued he was finally letting his guard down, subtly acknowledging what everyone suspected, that he left because the heart of the story wasn't being protected. Others said he was simply sharing a philosophical line, and the fandom was reading too deeply into it. But the debate itself fueled the wildfire. When a fandom wants answers, silence becomes louder than words, and one ambiguous post is enough to shift an entire conversation. Some rumor accounts claimed Netflix wanted Cavill to participate in promotional interviews for Season 4, and he declined. Others suggested he was distancing himself to avoid being dragged into the controversy. None of these reports were confirmed, but the mystery made them irresistible, because at that point, fans weren't just watching a show. They were chasing a narrative unfolding in real time. The media joined in, publishing articles questioning whether Cavill's post was a subtle critique. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Some defended Netflix's choices, but a massive portion of viewers took Cavill's message as a final confirmation of everything they feared. It felt like a moment of truth whispered instead of shouted. And ironically, that whisper hit harder than any statement he could have made publicly. Whether Henry intended it as commentary or not didn't matter anymore. The fandom had already decided what it meant, and that interpretation reshaped the entire legacy of Season 4 and fueled the next wave of backlash that would hit Netflix even harder. That's when the alleged internal leaks started spreading. Anonymous staff members claimed tensions inside Netflix were high, and that warnings about the recast had been raised long before Season 4 aired. Some posts claimed the company underestimated how tied fans were to Cavill. Others said internal analysts predicted a franchise disruption if the show drifted too far from the books. A phrase reportedly echoed within private chats, "We should have listened." Whether those leaks were true or internet fiction didn't matter. The narrative had already formed. Netflix gambled with one of their strongest fantasy pillars, and the gamble failed. Rumors of a costly reputation-fixing campaign began circulating. Some claimed the company was considering rewrites, soft reboots, or even reaching out to Cavill again, none of which were confirmed. But the idea alone fueled hours of speculation, live streams, and breakdown videos. By this point, the damage wasn't just visible, it felt irreversible. The storm had already reshaped the franchise. Season 4 quickly became one of the weakest performing seasons in the series' history. Analysts described the situation as an identity crisis, saying the show no longer felt like the world it once promised to build. Fans no longer trusted the creative direction, and many openly said they were done permanently. Meanwhile, Henry Cavill's legacy soared. People who hadn't watched The Witcher since Season 1 returned just to re-experience his portrayal. His version of Geralt became a symbol of dedication, authenticity, and respect for source material. Rumors began circulating about future shakeups, potential changes behind the scenes, and even discussions of long-term damage to the broader franchise. No matter what Netflix does next, one thing is certain: the audience they lost may never return. Because this wasn't just a recast, it was a shift in the story's identity, and fans made it clear they weren't willing to follow. At the end of all this, one truth remains untouched. Henry Cavill's Geralt didn't just play a role, he defined an era. His version of the character became the emotional anchor of the series, shaping the tone, the world, and the fan base that carried it to success. Season 4 didn't just lose a lead actor, it lost the guiding presence that made the series meaningful for millions. Whether Netflix can rebuild from this or not is still uncertain, but what's clear is that Cavill's impact won't fade. Even if the story continues without him, his shadow will always hover over the franchise. And until the day he chooses to speak openly about what really happened behind the scenes, the mystery and the debate will continue.